Howdy Commanders, I am Jay Strakenberg and welcome to my channel. Elite Dangerous offers many great and rewarding avenues for money making, but in my opinion, exobiology is probably one of the best ways to generate wealth as a solo player. There's a couple other options that may be a little bit better if you're in a group, but if you're running solo for the time being, this is the way to get it done. This particular video is the first in a series of exobiology topics that we'll cover. This one is going to give us, kind of the basics on exobiology in general, and then how to use the Spansh Exomastery plotting tool. The second video is going to be released a little bit later that's going to cover exobiology during deep space exploration. And then there will also be a third video that's going to go over some of the third-party tools that you can download and utilize to help enhance your exobiology. As far as the basics go, there's three essential things that you need to get started in exobiology. The first is your ship. Any ship will do, but you want to make sure that you've got an SRV and a decent jump range so that you can get around without too much jumping around. Small ships like the Diamondback Explorer, the Cobra Mark III, or the Dolphin are really good for exobiology because they can land just about anywhere, and they get a pretty good jump range. The second item that you're going to need is your Artemis suit. If you haven't picked one of these up yet, you can just head to any Pioneer supply desk inside of a station and purchase one. It's going to cost you about 150,000 credits, but those credits will be recovered in the very first scan that you do, so it's no big deal. Lastly, you need a detailed surface scanner or a DSS installed in your optional internals on your ship. Once you have those three things, it's time to fly out somewhere and start scanning for bios and collect your first sample. There's two common ways that this is done. The first and more efficient method is using data from exobiologists before you to plot a course through and near the bubble, basically resampling already discovered bios. This method is going to pay you the base rate for all the samples that you collect, but it does still have the potential to earn you billions in credits. The second method is pairing exobiology with deep space exploration. Essentially, you fly out into previously undiscovered systems, scan for bios, and discover your own. This is the less grindy method as it's added to your regular deep space exploration gameplay. It's not going to be as efficient, but the earning potential is far greater over time as all the samples that you discover yourself are going to earn you that 5 times credit multiplier. This particular guide will cover the Spansh Exomastery method. Part 2 is going to go over the deep space method. Before we get into this, please consider giving the video a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. I would greatly appreciate your support. So your basic steps for exobiology are pretty simple. First, you need to make a loadout with your Artemis suit and change into it. Second, you'll use full spectrum scanner or your FSS to map the system that you're in. Doing this is going to alert you to any biological signals in the system. This step is a must for finding bios in undiscovered systems, technically optional for using the Spansh Exomastery plotter. We will be covering the FSS in part 2. Next bit, you're going to fly out to the body with biosignals and use your detailed surface scanner, otherwise known as the DSS, to map the planet. The DSS is not strictly required for this, but it's going to greatly help you narrow down where on the planet to hunt down your samples. In order to DSS a planet, you must first go to your ship's fire groups in the right-hand panel and assign the surface scanner to one of your triggers. Once you're at the planet and you're ready to use it, you're going to approach the planet with the biosignals and slow down before you start the landing sequence. When you enter the proper range for the surface scanner, down in the corner of your HUD where it shows your fire groups, it's going to turn from red, which means you're out of range, to blue, which means you're in range. If you're still moving, it may tell you you're going too fast. Just go ahead and zero your throttle. You don't want to fly into the planet while you're doing this. Once the DSS shows that it's blue in your fire groups on your HUD there, you can go ahead and trigger it, and it's going to open up a new window where you will then map the planet with probes. This may take you a little bit of practice to learn where to fire the probes, but after mapping a handful of planets, it'll all make sense and it'll be pretty easy. Once you've gotten the mapping to 90%, it's going to automatically complete to 100%, and you're going to see a blue overlay that appears on top of the planet surface in front of you. All this overlay does is it just kind of shows you where on the planet the bio grows. It's got nothing to do with the frequency of growth. It's not a heat map. If you see any sort of gradients to the color or any textures in it, it is simply just relaying to you what the topography of the planet is underneath the overlay. At the very top of the DSS screen, after the overlay appears, if there's multiple signals on the planet, either biological or geological or both, you're going to have some toggles up there where you can go through and select which signal you want to focus on, or you can have it focus on all. For the purpose of the Spansh Exomastery, I would probably just set it so that it's showing you specifically which signal you're searching for there. And then at that point, you can go ahead and back out of the DSS screen, back to your normal cockpit view. After the DSS is closed, you can fly to the planet's surface and start your search. As you're descending, if you want to turn off the blue overlay, you do that by switching your cockpit mode to combat. Switching to analysis again will bring that overlay back. At this point, you're going to get down, fly above the surface, 100, 200 meters above the surface. You're going to want to go slow. Depending on your computer, it may take a little bit longer for it to render in the bios. Kind of hard to say, but again, just get down low, go slow, they'll start to pop up. Once you've located your first sample, you're going to want to go ahead and land right next to it and hop out of your ship. You're going to then use your specialized suit tool. So in the case of the Artemis suit, it's going to be the genetic sampler. The default keybind for that should be 5. The sampler has 2 modes. Left click is your scan, right click is your pulse, or whatever you have your triggers bound to. Pulsing the tool is going to cause a pulse scan to happen that highlights bios near you on the ground. If it's glowing green, it means the bio is ready to sample. Blue means that that bio has already been sampled, or you are too close to the last sample that you took of it, and you need to move further away. If you see purple, that means it's a bio that you haven't yet scanned, but it is the wrong species. You need to finish the one you're working on first. At that point, you're just going to walk up to the bio and scan it. Once you've done that, you will need to move the required distance away from that sample and scan another one of the same species. Each species has a minimum distance between samples that range anywhere from about 150 meters to 1,000 meters. Using third-party tools like BioInsights can help you manage these distances. Third-party tools are going to be covered in Part 3. We'll go into more detail about that. I will put a link to ED Observatory and BioInsights plugin in the video description down below if you want to get started with that right away. Once you've taken your first scan, most commanders will use 1 of 2 methods to get to the next sample. You're either going to hop back in your ship and fly until you find the next one, or you can get in your SRV and drive until you get into the next one. The choice is yours. Try both and see which one works out best for you. I will note on particularly rugged planets, even if you prefer to fly in between samples like I do, sometimes the SRV is going to be a necessity to get from one sample to the next, just due to difficulties landing your ship next to them. If you're unsure if you have moved the correct distance from your previous scan to your next, again, you can just hit that right click, your secondary trigger to pulse. If you see blue, it means you need to go further, and if it's green, you can go ahead and scan it. To get a complete sample, you need to scan the same species a total of 3 times. Once you've completed that sample, you'll take the canister out of your genetic sampler, save it, reset it, you put the canister back in, and you're ready to go ahead and repeat the process on the next biological sample. Alright, so the Spansh Exomastery plotter here is pretty simple to use. Basically, whatever system you're in, you're going to put up here in the source system. And then destination system, you probably just want to go ahead and leave that blank for now. For range, you're going to put in whatever your ship's range is. Radius, you want to pop this up to like 80. Max systems, adjust that however you want. Max distance, I would lower this, put it down at like 4,000 or so. This is the distance from your drop point into the system to the max distance away that you want to be looking for things. If you leave it the way it is, it's going to have you going to systems where you're going to fly 300,000 light seconds out to a planet to find a bio. Minimum value, go ahead and leave that be, and then you're just going to hit calculate. This right here is telling us the number of systems returned is less than what you've asked for. This is the radius here, so what we want to do is actually increase this. We'll put that up to, I don't know, maybe 90, and we'll see what it does. That error goes away, and now if you look at the bottom here, it's returning 102 systems, so it's just what we asked for. But that's basically how you kind of adjust this stuff out. Again, it's going to start with the system that you're in. All you got to do is hit the little copy button here, and then paste that into your galaxy map. This is the body here, 3A, so it's the 3rd planet over on the primary star. This tells you what kind of body it is. Really doesn't matter the distance from your drop point to the planet you're going to. And then this is what you're looking for here. That's how much it's worth. That's how many jumps away it is. Once you've done this all here, you can actually just check this off. It tells Spansh that you're done with it. It's a little visual indicator for you to let you know that you're done with it, and then you can copy the next one, paste that into your gal map, and go. If you look down at the bottom here, again, it's 102 systems, 122 bodies total. You're looking at 138 different scans on this, and it's going to net you 2.4, almost 2.5 billion credits there. So that's basically how Spansh Expressway to Exomastery works. One thing to keep in mind here is as you go through all this, once you've scanned this stuff, you can't go back and do it again after you turn it in. So if you run this in the future, it may run you through bodies that you've already been in. But really, this is a good way to get the wealth built in your account. If you want to do this full time, I would suggest checking out the next video, which is going to explain how to do this out in the black, discovering this stuff yourself rather than using this plotter. And that's pretty much it. Part 2, again, is going to cover how to do all this in deep space without Spansh. It's going to give you those sweet, sweet 5 times multiplier on your payouts. Part 3 is going to go over the third-party tools that help enhance your exobiology. And lastly, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. The support's very much appreciated. And if there are any aspects of Elite Dangerous you would like to know about in a future video, please leave a comment below and let me know. You can also join the Commanders Club Discord. There'll be a link down below. And once again, I thank you, Commanders. Fly safe.